fellow mech warriors, Mage Leader here. Welcome back to the Battlemech Primer, the series derided by freebirths and clanners alike. We've covered a bunch of different machines at this point, from the small to the mighty, and a couple things in between. Today, however, we're going to take a look at quite possibly one of the biggest and baddest mechs the Inner Sphere has ever produced. A machine with so much goddamn firepower that can make an Atlas pilot shit his pants, and at the very least give a clanner a nasty case of indigestion. And when I say this thing is big, I mean it's literally as big as a mech can be without stepping into 40k territory. That's right, by popular demand, we're going to take a look at the King Crab. The King Crab came about during a time of great military production, back when the Star League was at its height. In 2741, General Alexander Kerensky, yeah, that Alexander Kerensky, approached Kosara weaponries with a business proposition. Battlemechs at the time had been getting bigger, stompier, and all around much harder to kill. The heavy and assault classes dominated almost all of mech production, with a few exceptions that I've discussed elsewhere. Having a giant robotic death dispenser on your side was great and all, but if it couldn't survive a few hits, then it wasn't exactly useful. Battlemech manufacturers kept increasing the armor of their machines, and the mechs became more and more difficult to put down, which is good news for the pilots, but not so much for the commanders. Granted, a mech is a big investment, so you want yours to survive as much as possible, but you also want to make the enemies cease existing. Armor had outpaced weaponry, and pretty soon General Kerensky realized that should he ever be forced into a large-scale conflict, like the two big ones he ended up fighting not long after, he would need a fighting machine that could put these monsters down for good and as quickly as possible. The entire design philosophy behind his new mech concept was to kill anything that moved with a single trigger pull. While the resulting Battlemech couldn't quite pull off that feat, the end result was, nonetheless, quite impressive. Kosara came back with the KGC-000, an absolute unit weighing in at a whopping 100 Star League tons and packing 2 AC-20s, a large laser, and an LRM-15. Yeah, you heard me right, 2 AC-20s. While it won't core an assault mech with a single shot, it can almost certainly bring down your average medium with one. For the Royal Battlemech divisions, Kosara created the KGC-000B, which is the same mech but with double heatsinks and 2 extra tons of AC-20 ammo, as well as an Artemis IV for its missiles. This version was particularly stunning since the Achilles heel of the design was its dependence on ammo, and the B model all but eliminated it as a concern. The King Crab was an instant hit in the SLDF, and the periphery state soon came to fear the design. It was massive, with a commanding presence on the battlefield, and its imposing silhouette soon became synonymous with Inner Sphere tyranny in places like the Taurian Concordat. So Kosara had their beautiful, powerful machine all ready to go, but something was clearly missing in the conference room.
Oh. No crack, Gromit. We've forgotten the crack.
Yeah, I guess I need to talk about the look of the thing. Alright, so it's clearly called the King Crab for a reason. We're all quite familiar with the memes.
Weekly Crabber. Weekly Crabber.
The exact reasons for this unique aesthetic are lost to history, but plenty of battlemechs have been based on animals throughout history. It's a bit of an odd choice, but not one without precedent. On some models, the claws are meant to serve as melee weapons, though not in the way you might expect. The pistons that drive the joints don't really have the power to tear through steel in my armor, and they're meant more as impact shields than pincers. When a King Crab decides to throw down, which is not very often, it will typically close the claws in order to shield its autocannons from impact damage. Other than that, they don't have any real practical purpose, they're just for decoration. In battle, the King Crab is a bruiser, a heavy shock unit. It's meant to march into any situation and sort things out in the shortest amount of time possible. It packs an incredible amount of firepower, but it doesn't have much speed, armor, or ammunition to spare. All of this means that you need to be selective when using one. It's not meant for extended operations or holding out in a prepared position against waves of attackers. It's not for sending in a bold charge across open ground or for smashing through an enemy stronghold. It's meant to kill mechs, and kill them quickly, then waddle its way back to where it came from. So if the enemy's got a Battlemaster, Marauder, or even an Atlas after you, use the King Crab to remove it from the field. Keep it protected from enemy fire as much as possible, and don't let it get cut off. If a pesky light mech manages to slip into its rear arc, it can be pretty vulnerable. Don't let your pilot get carried away and think he can brawl with the other assaults. The King Crab may have some of the beefiest weapons in the inner sphere, but in a one-on-one fight, it's going to struggle due to its lack of armor. That said, it's a fantastic mech to hot drop into a position or to use in an ambush, and there's no denying that it has a commanding presence on the battlefield. From a psychological standpoint, the sight of a giant death crab carrying 2 giant cannons inside a pair of jagged claws is sometimes enough to end a fight without a single shot being fired, and the fear of those big guns can make even the most experienced mech warriors hesitate. Yes, that includes clanners too. Use this to your advantage. So that's the King Crab. It's an icon of a brighter time to some, and a symbol of tyrannical oppression to others. It's got enough firepower to bring down even the biggest targets. It was built for a single purpose, a role that it fills almost perfectly. This thing, above all else, is a mech killer. And in my book, that means it's something I want in my force. And if you know what's good for you, so do you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and leave a comment down below. You can also check out A Twist of the Knife, an audio drama that tells Mate Squadron's origin story right here on this channel. Be sure to keep an eye on the channel's community tab as well, because it won't be long before the new poll goes up, where you guys will be the ones to decide which mech we cover next. Until next time, this is Mage Leader, signing off.